Now, a man will appear in the Durban Magistrates Court tomorrow after he was arrested for hacking a home intruder to death with a panga. The alleged rapist broke into the couple's home and tried to rape the man's pregnant wife. The husband responded by grabbing the panga and using it against the intruder. Lizette Lancaster is a crime and justice expert, and she joins us now via Skype to help us look into the upsurge of people taking the law into their own hands. Good afternoon, Lizette. Good to speak with you. Thanks for joining us. Now, first question is, are people taking the law into their own hands more and more in South Africa?
Well, unfortunately, we don't really know, simply because nobody keeps accurate statistics on this. We know, according to the last police annual report, that they said around 850 murders that they could identify as mob justice or vigilante murders they could identify, but we know that many of the murders the more than 20,000 murders that we see in the country, we do not know what the motives are. So it could be far higher. Previous police analysis has put it as much as 10% of all murders. And of course, it also depends on the area. In some areas, more people commit these types of acts than in others.
Now, when you talk about, the areas, we're usually talking about the poor communities, isn't it, where maybe the resources in terms of the police, they're under-policed and so forth. Is that a correct statement?
That is correct. What we do see is that many communities are, have daily problems with crime and violence. I mean, yes, it's a societal problem across the country, but some areas have far more of this. We know, for instance, that 50% of murders happen in only 13% of police station areas. So we can also derive that those 13% of police station areas are far more at risk of retaliations and people taking the law into their own hands.
Now, just looking at the Section 42 of the Criminal Procedure Act of 1977, that allows citizens to arrest someone for certain crimes. Is this something that maybe we should actually be making our communities more aware, that you can actually arrest the person rather than actually, we've seen so many people beaten up, we've seen people being necklaced and so many times. Is there some sort of education that needs to be undertaken, some sort of awareness? Maybe it's the police, maybe it's government that concerning that.
We have to understand that most communities actually do that already. Mm-hmm. It's not like people wake up one morning and decide, well, today we're going to go and find a criminal and kill them. What happens is that in most instances, community members actually do liaise and do take into custody people and do hand them over to the police. Unfortunately, these are not the cases that make it onto social media, into the media. We normally see the most serious cases where things have gotten out of hand, making it into the public domain. But I think there are a lot of types of initiatives that can be done, strengthening the community policing forums, for instance, making sure that the police are held accountable in those areas, making sure that there are more community partnerships with the police, but also with business and so forth. But yes, definitely. I think we have seen that there has been a loss in or lack of satisfaction with the police. We've seen a dipping of trust. The recent Afrobarometer survey says that 66% of South Africans do not trust the police. Now, that is a serious problem. So the police have something quite serious to tackle, and that is not just crime, but also community perceptions about them. But it goes as far as the courts as well. We are seeing a new national the new NPA head that is coming, and hopefully she can turn around an organization that's also has a serious deficit when it comes to trust, because cases just, criminals are not being convicted. So yes, there's a lot of media and public image type of things that the police and the criminal justice system needs to do and build those partnerships again that they've lost in recent times.
But Lizette, how much of this culture, taking the law into your hands, maybe goes back to the days of apartheid?
Exactly. And before that, you know, colonialism was brutal. What we see in our streets is what happens in our homes. It's what's happening in our communities for centuries. You know, we've seen apartheid-style policing that alienated communities. So we can't expect communities overnight to now not react in frustration. Our kids are growing up in very violent households. We've seen in recent days, again, domestic violence being highlighted.
Yes.
So that is the problem. I mean, in recent studies by the MRC and others show that, you know, like 99% of children in Soweto have been exposed to violence.
That is a worrying
Yes.
trend. Thank you so much. Lizette Lancaster there, she's a crime and justice expert talking to us about the recent spate of communities taking the law into their own hands.